You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
You're working with statistics, and people rely on statistics. So when they entrust, their movements and their actions with what they're doing, especially these C-level individuals, when they look at a chart or a graph, sometimes those graphs, you can spiral a company out of control if you misinterpret what you're actually looking at. And the thing is this is what's leading into why do you need to be a data analyst before you become a data scientist.
Yo, so I have a very special treat for y'all today. I think the number one role most of you all have been suggesting or asking for us to interview has been a data analyst / data scientist. And so honestly, looking at you all's requests, I actually pulled back and I was like, okay, let me actually reach out to someone that I'm connected with on LinkedIn. Again, you wonderful LinkedIn community, make sure you have that. I said, let me reach out to someone that I'm connected with that's here in Atlanta that is a data scientist / data analyst. And interestingly enough, not only do we have a guest on that is a data scientist or analyst, but also they're going to talk about how those are actually not even interchangeable roles or titles, which I'm actually excited about learning. So not only are you going to be learning this here, but I'm going to be learning this the exact same time you all will be learning it as well. So we have a guest that's on today, Marshall, who not only is in this data field, but actually transitioned from being a solutions architect. So as always, we're going to go ahead and put respect on our guest's name by reading off his bio. So Marshal Turner, now he's homegrown. He's from Marietta, Georgia. Very rare that somebody's actually from Georgia, but he's from Marietta, Georgia. He's graduated from Kennesaw State University. I've actually been at that college a few times. Good college. Now, he graduated with a bachelor's in science as a ISYE. I'm definitely going to ask him what that is. As an ISYE, he taught himself everything he knows to get into the data industry, pushed his way into the transportation industry, and then climbed the corporate ladder to be a data science analyst. Marshall, thank you so much for being on Tech is New Black, bro.
Thank you for the invitation, really. I'll just answer that question right out. ISYE is Industrial and Systems Engineering. It's a lengthy mouthful, right?
Yeah.
So most of the time someone will say ISYE or something like industrial engineering just to fragment it, right?
Yeah.
You got it all right. Homegrown, I love this area. Never found a reason to leave. And, after graduating and getting into solutions architecture, because that was the first thing that I wanted to do, I love it because I like talking to people.
Yeah.
I like being able to network. I like being able to always have that moment of almost a personal connection with somebody while I'm doing business.
Yeah.
Right. And so that drew me in. And I was suggested by many other people to actually get into solutions architecture and sales engineering. Yeah. I found that I liked pricing and the idea of being able to efficiently create a model that would provide customers with almost an advantageous opportunity for them to be able to go out and I'm really kind of being high level because I worked in different markets. And so as a result, it was one of these things where there is no specific solution. It's just
exactly. High level is totally cool because you can't get too granular or specific because then you just get more specific about that specific company versus speaking about the industry. But let's actually pull it back a little bit. So would love to just first off just allow our audience to just kind of be able to connect with you more personally, knowing, okay, who who were you like before? What was life like for you before you even were thinking about getting in the tech industry?
Sure. So again, with engineering as a whole, there is very much of a push by the professors at Kennesaw State, at least, where they're asking, "Hey, are you getting into any type of co-op or a internship to be able to find that opportunity to be able to usher yourself into a company?" I was fortunate enough to be able to find something with ADP, the payroll company, and be able to work with them in data analytics, actually. I loved it because there was a lot of things that we'll get into later that I found to be fun. But the thing is that I actually got lowballed heavily
in terms of like how much they offered
how much they offered me when I was graduating. Yeah,
That's
it was very
crazy.
surprising.
How long ago was that?
7 years ago.
Okay.
It was a while ago. And the thing is that I fell prey to the classic kind of life lesson, and that is don't chase money, right?
Okay.
And I got offered a very, very nice deal by a company to become a solutions architect. And, I had my time there where I was able to learn the ins and outs of being able to correctly solution someone a product that may be a hybrid of two different advantages, whether it be more reserved solution or more of an advantageous solution. And then also be able to just talk to C-level individuals on a level in which it was very to the point. And it was also something that was almost an art, right? It's very different talking to somebody who's just, either your friend or family member to someone who's C-level. They have a lot of time, or they don't have a lot of time on their hands.
No, they don't.
So you got to be just
they got stuff going on
straight on.
So I'm curious. So when you stepped into being so was it you graduated first and then you went after the role with ADP, or like
I let it go.
So what was the transition? You said what?
I let it go.
Okay, so you didn't even work there. You just said no to it.
Well, no. I had the internship for about 6 months. Yeah. And then when I graduated, they offered me a full-time role. And it did not work well. Oh, yeah. And I ended up going with another company. And again, had that time as a solutions architect, and there was something missing. And I couldn't put my finger on it. Really, what it was is just a lack of happiness. I didn't find fulfillment in what I was doing. I can understand how people can find fulfillment. Oh my gosh, find fulfillment in that, right? Yeah. But for me, it just wasn't my forte. And so I needed to change things up. At that point, it had been about 3 years. I had worked with 3 different companies or so. And my data skills were very rusty. Okay. So at this point, I was almost starting out kind of with nothing, right? Clean slate. And this is something that was a little bit of a challenge because you have to stand out by having these computer skills if you want to get into data. And you can't just simply say, well, I'm smart. I can do it. I'll figure it out, right? You can't do that. So how do you do it, right? You can take classes. There's plenty of boot camps out there. Georgia Tech has a great one that's offered. That's 10 weeks of just coding. And people use that to be able to segue themselves into a position right here in the Atlanta area. But for me, I wanted to find something that may be able to cut costs, because at that point I was kind of tight on money. I didn't really want to push myself, at least yet, to get into a master's or some type of graduate degree. And so what I was looking for were different things, maybe on YouTube, maybe on a site called Stack Overflow, different answers in how to be able to further my knowledge in a certain language.
I've heard about Stack Overflow, but what is that exactly?
Yeah, so Stack Overflow is a open source community forum where people talk about different problems and or theories, and or anything really about languages as a whole, computer languages. Yeah. So if you are curious about maybe some of the homework that you might be working on in a class for, Java, right? You can look up on Stack Overflow, how do you do this, right? And it will pop up. There will be something there, right?
And it's usually because someone asked that question before and someone gave an answer to it before?
Maybe.
Or is it
also like Google search engines are just off the chain, really good at connecting, your concern with what you're querying. Right?
That's what I was wondering. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So for the most part, what I was doing is I was using YouTube. And again, like people underestimate how valuable YouTube is. There are so many things on YouTube that you can find that you would never think that you could find that are so valuable. Like I'm talking the best people in the business are on there just for fun, coding things, and you would never know it. Like I found, people don't know this. You can learn data science, you can learn coding that were taught by Harvard teachers for free on YouTube. Like there's a whole lecture series that you can just watch on any of these things, and it's completely free. You can practically get a degree through Harvard, through YouTube.
That's actually pretty crazy.
Weird. Yeah. And I mean, like, again, it's all there, but no one looks it up because, again, like they just don't know where to look. And so what I was doing is I was deep diving into that. But at the same time, I knew that one of the hardest things about, one of the most beautiful things actually, and one of the most hard things about coding is that you've probably heard this. You don't need a degree to be good at coding. You don't need a degree to get into coding. But the problem is that you got to be smart and you got to prove that you know coding, because you can't just walk up and say you know it, right? Like as a translator, you can't say that you know Spanish, but then never speak Spanish, right? Someone will obviously ask you, speak Spanish. And then if you can't do it, or they'll start talking to you in Spanish, if you can't do it, well, that's it. You're not a translator.
You know, so this is a sidebar, but it's kind of off what you said. There was a woman recently who was outed because she showed up to, it was either a governor's office or a mayor's office.
I've seen this. Yes.
Who said that she knew sign language, and they, for whatever reason, believed her. And they have videos of her doing sign language, and she was literally just making stuff up, and she was like on camera while the mayor's talking, just doing random stuff.
That's right.
And so that was kind of like just a random sidebar. That junk was so funny when I found out about that. I was like, yo, that's crazy.
It was also multiple accounts.
Like
she did it multiple times, and she got away with them.
What?
Multiple.
Wait,
times.
so by multiple times you mean she's done this for like multiple counties, or?
Yeah, she would sign up and then somehow get away with it. I don't. The semantics of it are beyond me, but I mean, I saw that and I was like, that is wild.
I guess because
I'm impressed.
I guess because how do you interview the person? Because technically the interviewer would have to. You would think they would need to know sign language, but I guess if they knew sign language, they're like, well, they would just do it themselves then.
She lied about multiple roles. It wasn't just limited to that, but I know that she lied about like her background and like what she did.
That's like the new version of what's that young boy? Well, he's not young anymore, but the young kid who was pretending to be a doctor, and people were actually going. I think he was pretending to be a dentist or a physician or something, and he was literally just a young dude who was wearing a lab coat, and people were going into his office and paying him like. It's like, what's wrong with people? That's just crazy
for that.
Looking for a job in tech can be tricky, but what if there's a way to automate the entire process? That's where Octoply.ai comes in. See, this software does all the work it takes for you to get hired, from researching companies to scheduling interviews, and all you have to do is just show up. Octoply.ai is the first application of its kind that will find jobs that you're top applicant for, apply to roles, reformat your resume, and manages interviews all while you sleep. So if you're tired of the tedious job search, try Octoply.ai today and let technology work for you.
So I'm curious. So, and this I know is a question that's going to be burning for everyone.
Go ahead.
What is a data scientist and what is a data analyst? What are those roles and what do they entail? Like, what's the day-to-day like?
Yeah. So for the most part, data comes in at a difference in levels when it comes to your position. It could either be raw data that is pulled from a remote source, or it could be data that's already been tampered with and formatted for you so that you can work on it. And what I mean by that is that the data analyst position is taking that data that we know is good data and putting it into something that putting it into a chart, graph, you name it, or a visual to make it known to most business individuals. Hey, this is what you need to know about either the activity, either the sales, or whatever, you name it. It could be any metric as to this is a piece of information you need to know. And again, it could go to C-level individual, or it could go to somebody who's just a manager of a team, down below. And so that is holistically what I would say a data analyst is, right?
Okay.
On the flip side, data scientists. The data scientists themselves, what they're doing is they're taking this information. You've probably heard a hot topic word. It's AI, right?
No, I never heard of that before.
Never. All right.
We never talk about that here.
Artificial intelligence. Do you know kind of the waterfall of artificial intelligence, what exactly it is, and then kind of the deep dive into it? Because
I don't know what the waterfall is. I don't know what that term is. We say that.
So artificial intelligence has to do with basically the mimicry of human cognition.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you have something called a machine learning model. Machine learning model is within the realm of AI. It is a model that inherits the logic of data, and then it can predict, or it can categorize, or it can do something, but it has to have some type of human intervention in it for it to work. Then you have deep learning within that, which is basically the removal of human intervention. So again, all these different things, these are portions of data science that you can work on. And again, the application side of things has to do with, the sky's your limit on that, right? You can do literally anything with those things. But again, for data science as a whole, it's not limited to just that raw data that I was talking about. It's also the data that we're talking about, the data analytics team, with it could be aggregate numbers, it could be the already groomed data, whatever it is. The misclassification of it is that people think that data analytics and data science are like these two different things entirely. They're nothing of the same. But really, if you're a data scientist, you are 80% a data analyst and 20% a data scientist.
Okay.
You don't actually do a lot of data science, because data science has to do with creating these AI models, which it sounds super advanced, right?
I didn't even know that they did that. Yeah.
I guarantee you a data science model literally consists of maybe 4 lines of code. It's a model.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, because nowadays we have these interpretive languages like Python in which they can remove all of the noise when it comes to code and package it into these very crisp, neat words that you can call on as commands, and then just kind of format it out to where it's only a few variables, the name of that model you want, and then that's it, and it runs and executes, right?
Okay.
Really, the what data science is statistics on a microscopic and macroscopic level. You are consistently thinking about different things, from Gaussian distributions to the theory behind QQ tests and
Gaussian distribution. I don't even know what that is.
Stats. These are stats.
Okay,
stat
cool.
theories, as well as stat rules, knowledge, and understanding. Right. What you're doing between the separation between data analytics and data science is that you're incorporating massive amounts of statistical theory as well as probability.
Yeah.
Right. And here's where we can kind of pour into something that maybe you might want to get into, and that is like, why would you want to be a data analyst before a data scientist?
Yeah. Hey, so listen, y'all, we need to talk about Pivot Tech Bootcamp. Pivot Tech is a virtual bootcamp that guarantees job placement. Yes, y'all heard that correct. They guarantee job placement. Now, they have a variety of different courses, including what the guest is talking about that you're listening to right now. But outside of those courses, they also assist with different forms of mentorship and other forms of education. Not only do they provide mentorship and career placement, but we've partnered with them and they're allowing our audience up to $300 off with our discount link, Tech is the New Black. So again, that's hashtag Tech is the New Black to get up to $300 off their courses. Now again, y'all, they're worth checking out. They guarantee career placement, but when you do their boot camp, make sure to keep us posted on your journey breaking into tech. I do want to ask that, but I actually want to kind of go like a bit, I'm not gonna say a bit more granular, but let's say honestly something as basic as like, what is, this is gonna might sound silly to you,
Good.
But again, we have a very broad audience. We have an audience where they're significantly more technical than you and I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And we have an audience of people that honestly, like every day we have a new person that's like, what is tech? And so,
that's fun.
So with that, I actually would like to even address like data. So when you talk about data, for the person that's like, okay, I hear you talking about data. I love the analogy that you gave. But they're like, what is even data? And so I guess if you can speak on, and I guess an example that most people are very familiar with is even like social media. Obviously, there's data that's extrapolated from social media. And so if you can explain to someone that doesn't know much about tech, doesn't even understand what data is, but they understand social media, and it's like if you kind of explain it from that component of even what data is, just using social media as an example.
Yes. Okay. So social media, obviously, it's a platform with a whole bunch of numbers in it, from likes to the number of times you post per day to you name it, right? All those numbers are floating around, but to make an app more efficient, let's say Instagram, you have to somehow track those numbers and keep a record of the efficiency, so to speak, of that app. And it could be a metric of anything, right? For the most part, you can probably, this is a good one actually, because you can actually see it yourself on your phone. The amount of time you spend per hour of the day on your phone. It has like an actual chart to show you how much time you spent on your phone. That is data.
So that's kind of like that chart is almost similar to a chart that a data analyst will make, like you mentioned earlier.
That is exactly what it is.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, great connection there. As far as data analytics goes, the reason why I was talking about the idea of like data analytics being a little bit different is that data analytics, your job not only consists of you working in a field where you're consistently working with data to create these charts and graphs. But the thing is that you have to translate data into layman terms for those who don't affiliate with it. So those of you who are actually behind the camera, right, that don't know too much about data, you're the prime target for most of the people who are working with the data to make stuff, right? And that's the hard part, right? It's not the most clear. It's not the most crisp. It's not the easiest thing in the world to look at data, especially that is not necessarily black and white all the time, right? That it's a little bit more grayed out in the middle. Maybe it's a metric that doesn't necessarily make sense all the time. Data as a whole, even when groomed, there is a level of like no company is perfect. No company is perfect. When it comes to data, it's the same thing. Like groomed data is an ideal term for the idea that your data engineers or the people who take raw data and then make it malleable for your team, your data analytics team and data science team, they are not flawless. So, right, they'll probably make a mistake here and there. Also, data is not always accurate, no matter how much you want it to be accurate. And that's
I didn't even know
part.
that. I thought data was like usually like always accurate.
For certain metrics, you're exactly right. Like the dollar amount, that's easy. But there are things out there here and there that where data can be subjective, right?
Okay, how could that happen?
So if you're talking, I'll give you an example. Right now I'm working on a model, and this model in my job measures difficulty on an operation.
Okay.
So I am basically taking what you think is difficult and what anyone else thinks is difficult. I'm interviewing multiple people. I've interviewed probably 15 people to find out what is difficult and what is easy. And then I'm putting a number on that. So you're going to tell me that data is accurate? Because again, it's off of 15 people's opinion. It's a number that represents difficulty.
Yeah, no way.
It's not exact, right? Yeah. So again, like the metrics there, it's conditional. Sure, some are exact, some aren't. Also, here's another thing. You want to talk about numbers and stuff like that, as far as like especially a high sales force or something of the sort. With any company alone, people lie. People love to lie. I'm so serious. Facts. And the thing is that waterfall that trickles right into data. If you lie on like the number of, let's say you're a guy who pushes an elevator button, right? But you say you pushed it 50 times rather than 12. So I'm the data analyst of that team for the elevator company. You just see 12, 12, 12, 50, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, right? So like you see it in data very easily. And that happens quite a bit. And it's not one of those things where it's constantly a problem. But the thing is that it is something that is just another layer of analysis that needs to be done on a company's end to make sure that everything is in check, and the so-called level of skepticism is always there, right? And so data science as a whole, though, is all about probability and the pouring.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Of all these statistical theories, and when you're breaking apart and putting back together these queries or searches of data, so you're just collecting certain styles of data that you want, maybe for a particular reason, right? It can definitely get gummy, so to speak, or gunky, whatever the word is, like messy.
Yeah, I've never heard
messy,
gummy before.
Yeah, I guess gunky, messy, right? With like what you're trying to pull, especially if it is something that you know the data isn't necessarily the most accurate, or the data is not as well tracked, or the data is, here's a good one actually. Domestic violence, when it comes to weapons and like firearms being pulled in like homes and whatnot. Most people think that we have like really good numbers and trackings as to like mass shootings. Yeah. But a fun fact about mass shootings, you can dictate what you think a mass shooting is based on a number, right? We could have 50 mass shootings if you consider a mass shooting 4 people, but you could also dictate that we only have 3 mass shootings if you think the mass shootings is 15
That's true.
people. There is no fixed amount for what a mass shooting
That's
is.
That's actually true. Wow.
And so
I never thought about that.
What's interesting is that people like, again, they struggle with that particular take, right? And again, this expands out with a whole bunch of different topics. But again, it's the idea of like, what is your definition? What is your definition?
Yeah.
How are you going to handle that, right? And so you're seeing things where data can be a little bit ambiguous. Yeah. Just a little bit. Right. That's
true. I never actually never thought about it, because you hear all the time they're like, oh, there's this many mass shootings, but like no one actually thinks, well, okay, what constitutes or what do you categorize as a mass shooting?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And again, we're getting better at it. You know, there was an interview with somebody who was in the Department of Homeland Security, I think, and he was talking about that in particular. And he's like, the tracking of data, we've gotten better at it, but we're nowhere near like there to say that we can have valid opinions on the matter of like activity, right? So not to get on a tangent about it, but the whole reason I bring it up is, again, the idea that like it doesn't matter how advanced or successful your company is, but at the end of the day, there will always be problems that you have to either mitigate and or remove. Yeah. And so like there's these things called like imputation methods, right? Imputation methods is a form of removing and or, well, it's not a form of removing, sorry. It's a form of reassigning maybe a value for a record that was in your database that is null. And I need to keep all the data that's connected with that record. So I don't want to remove it, right? So I have to basically create an average off of what is remaining to be able to create some type of value for that record, that specific record, right? Imputation, that's a form of the work that data scientists do on the regular basis. Yeah. Right. What we're trying to do is retain as much data as possible, but at the same time, make sure that what we're creating is a better representation as to what we're trying to either find or execute. Right.
Bro, so you said a mouthful, and there's something. a mouthful of good stuff. So I'm like more nerdy than like y'all realize. I'm not very super technical, but I love knowing how things work, how information is pulled, and how things are determined. Because I mean, of course, we all talk data, we talk numbers. We're like, oh, this statistic says this, but it's like, okay, well, how is this information actually being pulled? What's crazy is that you have me rethinking a few things, because I read a book a couple years ago called Dataclysm, and it's by the founder. It's by the founder of OkCupid, and it was the entire book was literally them talking about data that they've pulled from OkCupid and what it says about society as a whole. And it's really interesting. Like, one of the chapters talks about relationships. Another chapter talks about like different social issues. It's a very kind of like broad array of things that it touches on. And man, I've quoted the book countless times because of the data and things that they pull from it. But now listening to you, I'm like, man, like now I have to question even the data that it pulled, and like, okay, like I guess you can't even make definitive, like you can't make a definitive like, okay, this is what something is because of the data that was pulled from here. Like, you can make a statement about the numbers, but you can't necessarily make a definitive statement about everything that the book was touching on.
So you're touching not to use the same word, but you're touching on something that is a real problem in modern day data analytics and data science, and that is people underestimate the power of data. Okay. If you throw stats out, sometimes you can light fires that you do not mean to light. Give you an example. I'm going really broad with this, but data science, most of the time, the end result for a project is to create some type of application that is meant to be used by said person, internal customer, external customer, whatever, right? One of them can be a suggestion. But again, suggestions are seen as just suggestions to most people. But again, it messes with your brain. It does. I'll give you an example. Let's say salesman A wants to, I don't know, sell an item, right? And he's got a whole range of items. You have margin on those items, or a profit that you can make off of it, right? From buying that product and then either vamping it up or, just putting it on a different platform and then selling it for a little bit higher of a margin, right? If I gave you a counter that you could look at every time you picked up an item, and that counter gave you a number 1 through 4, and the 4 being the highest margin you can get and 1 being the lowest, even if I didn't tell you if it was right or wrong, would you look at it and then would it sway you to like pick up certain items that are 4 or 1 or whatever?
No, that's very true. It's literally,
Here's the thing. Let's say I put on there that there's a difficulty of how hard it is to sell that item. Oh. Right? Then you look at it and you could see that maybe the 4 being the most difficult, and then it says a 3 for the highest margin. Which one are you going to do? Are you going to bite the bullet and you're going to sell it because this is the highest margin? Here's the thing. It can sway human nature. Yeah. The guy or girl, whoever it is, looks at the item. They can trip up for a second and go, oh, well, I'm only going to aim for those that yield the most profit. I'm only going to aim for those that's the easiest to sell. Yeah. Whatever, you name it. But again, like, this goes on with not only intentional things that you do as a data analyst or a data scientist, but this is unintentional. There are things that you may create that in your mind may be an innocent thought that can be easily corrupted. And there can be things that you create that you, for instance, I'll give you an example. Spotify created an application that we all know of that you can listen to music and whatnot, right? Before the big boom of Spotify, though, it only sold music, or it only offered the idea that you could listen to music. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the podcasting was completely unintentional. I didn't know it was unintentional. Yes, they allowed the idea of you being able to upload very, very large amounts of data or really
like large files
records,
or something?
Large files, your record, right? So people realized that you could one day that you could upload like a 3-hour long song if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Within about 2 weeks, They had like 275 million gigabytes, just like, or not gigabytes, something like petabytes or something.
I never heard of petabytes.
Crazy.
That's outrageous.
All right, don't quote me on that number, but it was a massive number.
I'm tripping off just petabytes. I've never heard of petabytes.
This is like one of these things where I was listening to it, and it was, if you ever heard of Freakonomics, I love that podcast. But
I've heard of him.
That podcast, actually, they interviewed a guy from Spotify. He was saying they were buying data centers like that day. They had to go in and literally buy out data centers, ask third partiers like, hey, can we use your data? Because we did not have enough servers to be able to supply like the traffic of all these uploads. And they said our company literally like tripled in size because of this unintentional thing that they just never thought about. It just happened. It manifested. Right.
And were these like primarily podcasts?
These were primarily podcasts.
Yeah. Well, I guess a song ain't about to be 3 hours, so yeah.
And again, like it was a boom for the company. It worked out well. But again, I can say that it can be just as detrimental as it could be something that is, a glory, right, for that company. Similarly with data science, again, like you're working with statistics and people rely on statistics. So when they entrust, their movements and their actions with what they're doing, especially these C-level individuals, when they look at a chart or a graph, sometimes those graphs, you can spiral a company out of control if you misinterpret what you're actually looking at. And and the thing is this is what's leading into why do you need to be a data analyst before you become a data scientist.
I'm happy you brought that back. Thank you.
Exactly. The idea that like you need to understand the gravity of, first off, what you're working with. Okay. How do you efficiently put that, whatever it is you're trying to broadcast with your visual aid, Tableau, Power BI, whatever, on paper so that it's easy for someone who doesn't necessarily know technology to read and interpret, right? And then lastly, be able to do that on a frequent basis where you do not mess up, right? And establish almost a checklist for yourself. When you go through something, be able to look at your query or the search or your code really to search and be able to see, okay, everything's checked off. This is exactly what I want. This is how I'm pulling it. This is where it's going to go, whatnot. Because again, the idea is that everything is kind of interconnected with data, and block A will ruin every sequential block after that, right? Okay. So you just got to make sure. And again, that's also connected with like CS, any CS, right? So again, just coding in general.
Hey y'all, we have some incredible news that I'm super excited about to finally announce our private tech community. Yes, you heard that right. A private tech community exclusively for you all who want more than just the podcast. You want more than just the FAQs. You want to talk with tech recruiters. You want to talk with hiring managers. You want to talk with coaches. You want to talk with people that can help with editing and rewriting your resume. Maybe you're somebody where you just want to be a part of a community where we're talking about updates of what's happening in the software industry. Y'all, this community that we've launched is also going to involve a Discord where we're going to be talking about updates in tech. We're going to be talking about companies that are hiring. We're going to be talking about upcoming tech events. So that way you don't have to miss any of the gems that I know, but not even just what I know, but the gems that friends of mine that are also in the tech industry know as well. So if you want to be a part of that community, go ahead and sign up so that way you can join us. We have a few different tiers. Ultimately, it's all tuned in for you. Oh, and last thing, also within this community, we're going to be streaming all of our interviews with our podcast guests. So instead of you having to wait months to watch the videos later on, you will actually be able to watch the interviews in real time and ask your live questions to those guests. So make sure you join our tech community. So how does someone make sure that they're becoming like the best data scientist or data analyst?
I'll tell you this, you are going to mess up. You go into data, you're going to fall flat on your face. Everyone does it. I have done it, right? I'm not going to say
what does messing up look like? Not with you.
I can tell you. I can tell you in general. All right, I have witnessed people because there's a popular programming language called SQL that a lot of people use, or SQL, or however you say it, that basically can query or search information, and that also is a UI that shows the housing of all your data, right? You can accidentally drop a table, meaning you eliminate it from the database. It was never there to begin
So basically,
with.
the table that was created based on the data that was pulled. The table or graph, like you were talking about earlier.
But also eliminate it from your actual server.
Yeah. So you actually get rid of it, or
you can get rid of it.
Okay.
You can get rid of it entirely. There are stories that I've heard of. I've witnessed stuff like this. People have dropped the entire table by accident. Truncate means that you clean out the table, but you leave the structure. I'm talking like billions of rows of data.
And how? And I know this varies company to company, but it's like, how big a deal is that? I mean, I would be pissed if we lost all our data.
Well, I mean, this is along with the idea of like solutions architecture for data centers. You need to have backups on backups just to be able to spin up and then bring back what your last, I guess, 24 hours looking data looks like, right? Everyone should always have that, right? At the fault of the company, I don't think that, God forbid, there was a company out there that didn't have a backup, right? But I mean, for the most part, it can be very detrimental because sometimes these tables are not only representative of the data that you see, but it probably has like internal logic in it that manipulated the numbers to where maybe it's on an aggregate level or something that took hours for someone to code, but like they just didn't realize it, right? So here, what I did, I'm not even kidding. I did something called an alter table.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. It was very, very small in relation. It was only it was like 700 lines, okay? But it made me freak out. It was like my third week of ever being a data analyst.
Oh, man.
And all it takes is literally like clicking Control E, which is the hotkey for executing in SQL. And I didn't even think about it because, again, you're clicking Control E a lot. All the time because you're doing all these other things, and then you just accidentally highlight something that you didn't mean to again, and you could click it again and you go and it's too late. It's already ran. It's done.
That's
like
crazy.
Fortunately, it worked out in my favor. I learned my lesson. Again, it's one of these things that, again, not everyone's going to go through. It happens, but it's part of growing as a data analyst because there will be a moment where someone either accidentally deletes a file, deletes something, because like it just happens. You're messing with data all day long. Probability, you're going to do it, right?
Yeah, I was reading Atomic Habits, and I remember one of the chapters, well, obviously the entire book is about habits, but one of the chapters was giving an example of someone that worked at a grocery store, a retailer, and their previous job, they would oftentimes they would get credit cards and not credit cards. They would take gift cards. They would swipe the gift card. And after they swiped it, they basically used up the gift card. And then the person's job after that was to cut the gift card in half.
Yeah.
And that was their previous job. But now they're working at like a grocery store and they're not thinking. They're just kind of daydreaming. Someone hands them a credit card to make the payment. They swipe the credit card and then they cut the credit card in half in front of the person. And so, but it's like kind of going back to like when you kind of have that habit or that thing built into you. What's interesting, this actually makes me think this isn't the exact same. It's similar, but not on the same scale. But I remember very recently, Eric was saying that he kind of went through a crazy scare where, so as a videographer, Eric has a large clientele. Always working with a lot of different very high level people, and he had like a crap ton of like video footage. And of course, even with us, like we batch record. So, you know, we film like several guests on one day. And so between our content and other content he had, one of the files had gotten corrupted to where basically it was like all of that was gone. And of course, like these are all his clients. He has like videos from conferences, events that he had shot for. And so I remember seeing how much that just like kind of ate at him. And, you know, I'm thinking just about I'm like, shoot, I'm gonna shoot our content too, dang. But I'm like, yo, I'm not even gonna bother Eric because I know he's like really going through it right now. And I was like, the best thing I could be right now is just a friend and be like, hey, bro, if it's gone, it's cool. We gonna rock it away. Yeah. But just kind of thinking about it, that's different because that's like his business, his baby, his clientele, his relationships. You know, of course, his family is eating off of what he's doing. But it's like I'm thinking about like just kind of the reversal of that, where you being an employee at a company and you potentially, now I know this happened with you, but I'm thinking about like someone who might have deleted something massive, how that can affect like the whole company. Like, are there things like that happens where like it's like affected companies heavily?
I don't know people specifically, but I've heard of things that have happened like that. And again, like you're susceptible to it. Everyone knows that because there's a margin of error with any employee that you have, right?
Yeah.
On the flip side though, I would like to bring this to a more positive note. I would say this. Look, like I'm not here to deter anyone from getting into data. Data is a fantastic field. It sounds awesome.
No, it sounds great.
It is really fun because first off, you're on the frontier of exploration for anyone. When it comes to data, you can see trends for forecasting to understand what's going to be in the future around the corner for your company. You can be able to look into basically the performances of different people that you may be able to shine and show off to your company as going, look, like they don't talk a lot, but like they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
You can also alert your company for like crazy things that they may have glossed over and be able to say, look, we need to show attention to this, right? We need to save the company. And to an extent, you can kind of feel like a superhero, just a little bit from what you're doing. I'm serious. Like
I believe it.
It's great, right? And the recognition that you feel, at least for me, it's good. It's wholesome, right? Like we were talking about, like where's that fire in you to be able to. Where's that satisfaction, right? I wasn't feeling it, unfortunately, with solutions architecture or sales engineering. But I feel it with this because, again, I love critical thinking. I love being able to look at things from different vantage points and being able to see it either at a high or low level and be meticulous with how I may go about how I may go about executing some type of problem. And then after days and days where sometimes you have to step away from the computer, go play soccer, go run, go do something, right?
Yeah.
And come back, sometimes you'll think about that eureka moment, so to speak, right? As to how to solve your problem in the middle of doing something random. Right. And like that feeling is just, for me, it's great. Like you can't get enough of it. Right.
No, I believe it. I mean, in my opinion, I believe data is, I mean, of course, this varies company to company, but I believe data is probably the most valuable thing that a company has, and especially being able to make decisions based off of that data. I mean, without data, I mean, even with us, like between our YouTube, all of our just social media platforms, our website, everything, traffic, what people are seeming most engaged in. It's like all of that is data, even the comments, even people asking for us to interview someone who's a data scientist or data analyst. That is a version of data just on like an extremely basic level. And of course, again, I believe that's the most valuable thing, because without data, you don't know what people want. You don't know the trends. You don't know any of those things. Man, so this has been really good. We got to wrap up, but I want to kind of ask you a question.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, what are your thoughts on, we talked a little bit about AI. How do you see AI affecting the role of a data scientist or data analyst, for better or for worse? Like, what are your thoughts and your theories?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can expand it out to even beyond data science, right? So many people are worried about the idea of like the removal of jobs. I would never call it the removal of jobs. I would call it the evolution of jobs, right? Our jobs in the next 60 years are not going to look anything like the jobs that we have now. I firmly believe that.
You said the next 60 years?
60, yeah.
I mean, I don't
easily.
think the next 10 or 20 probably.
Probably, like so to speak, right? I'm playing it safe. But as far as like data science goes, you will always need it, because the thing is that, for instance, let's take an example, ChatGPT. Everyone hears about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an advancement in something called natural language processing. It's also known as large language models. It is.
I didn't even know it was a LLM.
Entirely data science, right? And again, data science is an art. You can make things very accurate. But the thing is that it is very much something that is created by humans.
So it can't be perfect.
It can't be perfect.
Yeah.
And like some people think that it's going to be this manifestation of something that will be superior to human beings. We're definitely not there yet.
We're definitely not there. Yeah.
But like the idea is that it was a huge milestone. And it's developing and it's getting faster and faster with what we're doing in the waves of technology. But the thing is that it's not going to remove any need for data scientists. If you didn't know this, when ChatGPT 3 got released, ChatGPT 4.
Yeah, the one that just dropped.
The one that just dropped. They've been hiring a metric ton of data scientists.
Whoa.
Yeah, to be able to work on the model and augment it and do like a whole bunch of stuff there because, again, they need more people to work on it.
Do you think that's the same thing with Bard, like with Google's version?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. They're going to have to do the same thing because, again, the whole point of hiring those data scientists, we're looking at all the problems that would occur if you break ChatGPT somehow.
Yeah.
Like that's what they're doing. So again, to answer your question, no, I don't think that's going to endanger anyone's job, so to speak. But again, like we said, the evolution of your job is definitely going to be there.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.